Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Be Like Christ for our Bible study. Today we are in the second chapter of our new book, the book of Numbers, and we've got a new outline PDF that you can download on our website for free. If you wonder why there's a talking donkey on the outline, the PDF, you'll just have to wait and find out. If you already know the story, you know about the talking donkey, but if not, you have to stay tuned and watch every study to figure out why the talking donkey is on here. So Numbers chapter 2. Who are our characters for this chapter? First, we've got the Israelites, or the Hebrews. They were the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They had grown into a really large nation. They were slaves in Egypt, but God had helped them escape Egypt using the 10 plagues, and now they're on their way to Canaan, or the Promised Land. Moses is our second main character. He's God's selected man who's going to lead the Israelites to the Canaan land. And God speaks to Moses, and Moses shares God's words with the people. And then Aaron is the high priest of Israel. He is also Moses' brother, and he's from the tribe of Levi. When did these events happen? Well, this is pretty easy because Numbers chapter 1, verse 1 tells us that these events began the second month of the second year after Israel left Egypt, so that'd be approximately 1490 to 1489 BC. And as we mentioned in the last video, Leviticus only covers about 1 month's worth of time, whereas Numbers is going to cover about 40 years. Scooting on over then into our map, we'll see where these events took place. They took place at Sinai, the wilderness of Sinai, and we know that the children of Israel were camped near Mount Sinai, which you'll see towards the bottom of the map. Okay, come over to page number 2 with me and we'll talk about our outline. This chapter is pretty easy to break down. I put it all in one section because it's all talking about the order of the camp of Israel. God had a specific way that he wanted the Israelites to camp around the tabernacle, and you weren't just allowed to pitch your tent, wherever you wanted to put it. You had to camp in this order, and there was a symbolic meaning to this order, which we'll discuss at the end. So verses 1 through 34, the order of the camp of Israel. So God gave Moses specific instructions as to how the Israelites were supposed to set up their tents in relation to the tabernacle, which was also known as the tent of meeting. The people of each tribe were supposed to camp together as a tribe, and they were to surround the tabernacle on every side. And don't worry, there's a diagram at the bottom of this PDF if that's easier for you to understand. So on the east side of the tabernacle, the tribes of Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun were supposed to camp. In total, there were 186,400 of those guys. When the camp of Israel set out, remember the cloud and the pillar of fire that guided the Israelites? When that pillar of cloud moved, the Israelites knew that they were supposed to pack up camp and move to a new location. Well, when that happened, these tribes that were camped on the east side of the tabernacle, they were supposed to move first. All right? So that's the east side. Now to the south side. The south side, the camps of Reuben, Simeon, and Gad, 151,450 people. They were supposed to set out second, right after the people on the east side. After the tribes on the east and the south side had set out, the Levites were supposed to follow them with the tabernacle structure and all the furnishings that went with the tabernacle. So the Levites camped in the middle of all of the camp of Israel. They surrounded the tabernacle. So then the first two sides, or the first 6 tribes would depart. The Levites would follow them with the tabernacle. Then they would be followed up by the camps on the west side of the tabernacle. And those were Ephraim, Gad, and Benjamin. So then finally, our last group of people here, the individuals on the north side of the tabernacle, Dan, Asher, and Naphtali. When the camp of Israel moved, they were to bring up the rear, and they were at the tail end of the procession. We're told again, as we were in the last chapter, that the total number of all of the Israelites was 603,550, excluding the tribe of Levi. Okay, so now you can jump down to the diagram. I think this is actually more helpful for me, at least, than reading all of that information. So right smack dab in the middle, you have the tabernacle structure. And no, this is not to scale. If it was to scale, you could fit like 100,000 people in the tabernacle, which you could not do. But the tabernacle right in the middle, around it, the Levites, and then to the east side, you see Judah and those other tribes there, and all the tribes and their populations are listed on the diagram. So I don't have an application for this chapter, but I think a good application would be, if I had one, that God needs to be at the center of our lives. This was physically played out in the camp of Israel. See, the tabernacle and God's presence was right in the middle. Even when they moved camp, God was still at the center of everything that they were doing. Now, we don't have a physical structure where God's presence dwells, but God needs to be the center of our lives, spiritually speaking. So there you go. That is Numbers chapter 2, and Lord willing, I will see you guys tomorrow for Numbers chapter 3.